Last year, the Niners had 21 Pro Bowlers and Pro Bowl alternates. This year, they have 8. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Best 49ers show. That's Ryan G. Hensley. I'm Grant L. Cohn. He's live from his house. I'm live from Levi Stadium, where the Niners do their little press conferences after games and during the week. Nick Sorensen will be out there in a couple of hours explaining what's going on, what's going right and wrong with the 49ers defense. That'll be fun. Ryan, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you doing? Happy New Year.
I'm good. I did not make the Pro Bowl this year, but maybe next year. Look, that's my goal for 2025, make the Pro Bowl.
You should have made it probably, I think.
Last year, Tabor Pepper was a Pro Bowler last year, or an alternate, one of the two. This year, not so many Niners. Here's the Pro Bowlers: Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, George Kittle, and the fullback. Then the alternates: Brock Purdy, Trent Williams, Diamador Lenore, and Leonard Floyd. What do you think of those names right off? What's your instant reaction to those selections?
Some surprises, some not surprises. I mean, the first thing I want to say about the Pro Bowl and the top 100, like the Pro Bowl is a popularity contest amongst fans, I feel like, more than anything. And the top 100 is a popularity contest amongst players. Mm-hmm. When I think of like what really matters is the all-pro selections. That to me is the most legitimate measure of who's the top in the NFL. Like Juice, I think I just set the record for the most Pro Bowl selections by a fullback in NFL history, which is interesting. He hasn't really done much this year, but I think that's because he's like the only fullback that people know. So that's
kind of a dead position.
Yeah, and something that strikes me like doesn't make a lot of sense is where's Diamador Lenore? Like it's clearly to me it's a popularity contest, like a names, like they know these names. Diamador Lenore, to me, there's two players that really deserve to be in the Pro Bowl this year, which would be George Kittle and Diamador Lenore. In my opinion, those are the two players on the 49ers that actually deserve to be there. Only one of those guys made it. The rest of these guys, I mean, Nick Bosa, how many sacks does he have this year? He had a good game last game, 9 sacks. I mean,
so the defensive ends for the NFC are Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary. Let's go through the NFC roster and see where the Niners factor in and if we think it's fair. How about that? Quarterback, okay. Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, how about that? And Jaden Daniels. And then the alternates are Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, and Jordan Love.
Why didn't Baker Mayfield make it? Baker Mayfield.
Well, that's a good question. He would have had to knock off. You could argue that he should have that spot over Jaden Daniels. As good as Jaden Daniels has been.
Yeah, I like Jaden Daniels. He's my favorite rookie quarterback coming out of this draft. He should be rookie of the year, I would imagine. He's done a good job. But Baker, the numbers that Baker's put up, I think exceed everybody there. So he might have been robbed a little bit. I understand why he's an alternate. I'm a little surprised that Brock is honestly an alternate this year. I don't think he's had a good year. I mean, how many touchdowns and interceptions are we at right now with Brock? 20 and 12?
12. Yeah, he's having a Jimmy Garoppolo year. Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't a Pro Bowl alternate with those numbers or that record. I mean, really, I'm starting to think that Jimmy Garoppolo is underrated. I mean, considering what Brock Purdy can achieve with these numbers and this record, it's like Jimmy Garoppolo was hated on because of Kiara Mia. That's all I can think of.
You did it. Jimmy literally had better numbers than Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Better. Like his completion percentage was, he had 3 higher point, like he was 68% completion percentage versus Brock was 65. And then everything else is identical. So it is strange to me that Brock's an alternate, but I think, Niner fans have a lot to do with that. Like Niner fans there's a lot of Niner fans and a lot of Niner fans vote. So good for him for becoming an alternate. Maybe that'll help him in his contract negotiations. I am a little surprised that he made it though, to be real. I didn't expect to see that. What about you? Who are you surprised by?
Well, yeah, who else could have been a Pro Bowl alternate in the NFC quarterback race instead of Brock? Kyler Murray was in the – I mean, his numbers are about the same as Brock's. Geno would be in the consideration. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could give him the alternate. Stafford. How about Stafford? Did I lose you, Ryan? Hey, how you doing? Stafford?
Yeah, I mean, I think Stafford's a better quarterback.
It's a better record.
Numbers
The
wise,
receivers were hurt for a while.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really don't understand why Brock's on there. I don't, but maybe it's just because the NFC quarterback, it's kind of weak, really.
Okay, running back. Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Jacobs. Don't know if there's any surprises there. Then the alternates are Austin Eckler, David Montgomery, Bijan Robinson.
Makes sense to me.
Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's fair. I don't know who else would pop in there.
All right, let's do. We got wide fullback use check, wide receivers: Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin.
Who's the alternates on that list?
Let's see.
I'll pull them up.
Hold on, give me a second. AJ Brown, Malik Neighbors, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Mike Evans.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That sounds fair to me. Is there someone
Tight
you
ends:
think?
George Kittle and Trey McBride.
Yeah. So far, it sounds.
Tackles: Lane Johnson, Penei Sewell, Tristan Wirfs.
Those are name things, right? Like it is definitely. I'm not saying those guys are bad, but those are like the names, right? Like a Pro Bowl is clearly, to me, it's a popularity contest.
How did Trent Williams get an alternate selection with 10 games played?
I mean, he's one of the best, but yeah, he didn't play a lot. And, it's a name thing. Everyone knows Trent Williams. He's, been one of the best, if not the best tackles in the NFL for a long time. So he's going to be up there.
Yeah, I guess we don't have to go through the rest of them. Here's the one. I want to look at cornerback. Deommodore Lenoir. He's an alternate. He feels he should have been a Pro Bowl selection. I feel he should have been a Pro Bowl selection. Here are the cornerbacks who made it in the NFC. Jalen Johnson, excellent player. Byron Murphy, J.C. Horn, and Devin Witherspoon.
I just picked up my wife from the airport. Otherwise, I would have put up statistics so I could compare. But what I know is Deommodore Lenoir, I don't believe, has given up a touchdown since December of 2023. It's now 2025. He has not given up a touchdown since December 2023 against the Eagles. Was the last time he's given up a touchdown. I think Deommodore Lenoir was robbed on this one. But again, it's a name thing.
I mean, Byron Murphy has 6 picks this year. Devin Witherspoon's really good. Let's see what Devin Witherspoon's doing.
That's been the biggest. That's been the biggest knock on the 49ers defense this year. One, not the biggest, but they can't stop the run. But the takeaways have been, I think they have 2 since the bye week. 2 takeaways.
See, here's what's interesting. Devin Witherspoon has his reputation as being a lockdown corner. He was a first-round pick. This year, according to Pro Football Reference, he's given up a quarterback rating of 101. Whereas Lenoir, who was a 5th-round pick, doesn't have any hype, is given up a quarterback rating of 71. So I think that's his issue right here. Like, wait a second. What did Devin freaking Witherspoon do to make this team when Lenoir has legitimately better numbers?
And I think they do value interceptions a lot with this. Like that's what gets your name on ESPN. That's what gets your name out there when you do get interceptions. But like
Witherspoon has 0 this year though.
Really?
So yeah, he has none and 1 in his entire career. Again, everyone looks at him as like this lockdown corner, and he may be. He's a hell of an athlete, but I think Lenoir deserved that Pro Bowl nod.
Yeah, man. I think Deommodore Lenoir. The good news for him is he got a big payday, so I'm sure he's going to be okay. But he's still underrated throughout the league for whatever reason. But hopefully he continues to do his thing. Remember, you and I had a conversation before the season about who do we think might make an All-Pro before this year for the first time, and I said it would be Deommodore Lenoir, and he's played his ass off. I don't know if he's going to get that All-Pro recognition, but he's definitely one of the top corners in the NFL, and 49ers are lucky to have him. He's the
I think we talked before the season, like which player is most likely to be a first-time Pro Bowler this year. Well, technically they didn't have one. So let's end the topic that way. Who is most likely to be a first-time Pro Bowler next year?
Next year, Deommodore Lenoir. I'm going to say the same thing. Because he should have got it this year. He'll run it back, and at some point, people are going to catch on that he's one of the top corners in the NFL.
You know what he needs to do? He needs to make a heel turn like in WWE. He needs to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's like, he needs to go from like when Floyd Mayweather went from Pretty Boy Floyd to Money Mayweather. He needs to be Money Lenore and just bring in all the hate and all the attention on himself, because right now he's flying under the radar.
Demo, please don't do that though. I love D. I like Demo personality, who he is right now. You know, get a pick 6 next year, and then figure out how your celebration is going to look. You just need more popularity out there, but Demo deserves it, man.
What sucks for him is if he had like intercepted Stafford in that do or die game, probably would have made it. That would have been a high profile pick.
I got one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Malik Mustafa next year.
Could be. I got another one for you. Ricky Pearsall.
Whoa.
Or there's a lot of competition at wide receiver. What about Dominic Pooney? What about Poondog?
Poondog? Yeah. I could see it. Do they give an award for
that dude didn't even get like a Pro Bowl alternate nod? You could argue he's the biggest snub. Poondog.
Do they give an award for the best rookie O-lineman? I'm sure they do, right?
Maybe.
He might win that one.
He should.
Yeah.
I think he should be a Pro Bowl alternate at least. I'm mad. I just thought about it. I'm pissed.
You know, the thing about it is like when your team sucks, you're going to get less Pro Bowl selections. That's just how it works out. And the team suffered. So like if the team was good, winning, headed in the playoffs, we'd probably have twice as many Pro Bowlers at this point.
Right. And if you think of the Niners offensive line, do you think good or bad?
Right.
So
you don't think good. I think they're a little bit. They're not good by any means, but I don't think they're as bad as people say. Also,
agree, but you don't associate them with good.
Right.
Matthew McBride says reload the defensive line and upgrade the offensive line as well. Get healthy in other key areas. I like that plan. Juan Jimenez says bring Jimmy back to Niner football. Tank quote.
Can you not wait to see Jimmy play this Sunday on the? He's starting.
Oh, I cannot wait. I've been waiting all year. This is my Super Bowl. Really looking forward to it. Bill Kennedy says, would Trey Lance be a first-round pick this year? Be interesting if he had gone back to school or transferred and stayed in school, where he would have ended up.
I think he would be better had he stayed in school. If he's a first-round pick this last year, yeah, I would imagine he would be. He should have stayed in school, but that was a long time ago. One thing that's interesting, though, that I've been watching is his brother. His brother is setting records. Yeah.
Interesting. Juan Jimenez says, if Sorensen got a fade, he would be your doppelganger. Thanks. I appreciate that so much. That was cool. Hold on. All right, sleeper time. We're going to do some early sleeper today. They don't have the Niners sleepers up yet, though, so let's go straight to Jimmy Garoppolo. What do you say?
Oh, shit. This is
passing
great.
yards, 196.5 in his Rams debut.
Who are they playing?
The Seahawks.
Oh, shit. And then the Seahawks are probably playing everybody, and the Rams are not, I'd imagine, right?
Yeah. It's going to be a tough day for Jimmy.
Do we have interceptions? We got to go with the interceptions. Over.
Poor Jimmy.
This is fun, man. I never thought I'd be able to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo again, but this is great. I love this.
All right. What about like Geno? 251.5 passing yards.
I think so. Yeah. I think I'll go over on this one. He hasn't done it a lot, but I don't think the Rams are really coming to play, and Geno's probably trying to show out on his last game this year.
About Zach Charbonnet, 59.5 rushing yards. Last week, 57.
I'm gonna say no.
Hating on him because he went to UCLA. It's cool. It's all right. It's fine.
Yeah.
Who else we got? Kansas City. Kansas City. We got Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz playing. Where you at? Is he? I don't see him. I don't want to do these games where there's backups playing.
You know Except for the Rams. That's always fun.
Except for the Rams, of course.
They got a Mike Evans touchdown. We got a Mike Evans touchdown right there. I just saw Mike Evans pop up.
Mike Evans?
Yeah, Tampa Bay. Give him a touchdown.
Just give him a touchdown?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's money in the bank.
Yeah. There you go.
What about Jordan Love? No. Caleb Williams. He's a lot more fun. Caleb Williams.
The big game this year is the I wish they had sacks. Do they have sacks for Caleb Williams? But the big game is the Lions and the Vikings. That's the big game.
That's the one you want? All right.
Yeah.
Darnold. Pass
Darnold.
TDs. 2.5. 2.5 for Darnold.
That's nuts. I gotta say no. That's crazy. That's insane how good he's doing. But
Against Detroit.
Oh yeah, against Detroit, they're gonna have
Purdy
to score.
had put up 3.
And the Lions defense is horrible. I'm gonna stop hating on Darnold and give it to him.
All right, sounds good. What about Goff, the other guy that people have somewhat stopped hating on recently, at least for the time being? Touchdowns, 1.5 for Goff. 1.5. It's a tough defense.
I think you got to hit that though. I think he's gonna get 2.
You got to hit that. Quit that. All right, let's just keep it at that. Flex it. There it is. Download the Sleeper app yourself today. Use promo code Cohn, COHN. It's on the board. Play 5, get 55, and get entered to win a signed George Kittle jersey. All right, we have a big discussion to have today. We can take our time with it. I want to name all the reasons that people should feel optimistic about the 2025 49ers. I know we haven't done the offseason yet or free agency or the draft, but looking ahead, knowing what this team should sort of look like, what are all the reasons that we can think of that fans, players, coaches should feel optimistic about next season?
Let's start. Well, let's do one at a time. The first one I think that jumps to mind for me is the schedule. They had the hardest schedule in the NFL according to like opponents. But this next year, they might have the easiest schedule in the NFL. The Falcons, the Panthers, the Jaguars, the Titans, the Bears, the Saints. I mean, the Giants. I think the schedule is one reason to be optimistic about the 49ers. They could be the same exact team they were this year and still have a better record than they did last year based on the schedule.
They could be like not better, but better at the same time. Right.
Yeah. So I still think schedule is a good one to list on here.
I think schedule's a great call. And that's sort of like one of the perks of being bad or having a bad record. The NFL rewards you for that. And the other thing is they're going to have a top 11 pick. And there's a chance they don't mess it up. And that guy could be like a really big impact player at a position of need. Who knows? Maybe they get a franchise offensive tackle or defensive end or defensive tackle, or maybe they find George Kittle's heir apparent. It seems like there's going to be a tight end there who's going to be really good. I don't know. It seems like they have the opportunity to not mess this one up. As long as they don't get the next, I won't say it.
They have a 30% chance of not messing it up, which is that's a 30% chance to be optimistic about the first round draft.
Hell yeah. I love that, man. That's like a Draymond Green 3-point shot.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that is a good one. I think another one is the rookies. The rookies this year, the draft. I was impressed with Ricky Pearsall, what he did last week. We didn't get to see that much of it. I assume he's going to have a full offseason this coming season, and we might be able to see more of what we saw last week from Ricky Pearsall. That was very encouraging. Dominic Pooney, obviously, we know how good he is. In his second year, I imagine he's going to get stronger, and that's going to help him as well. And then Malik Mustafa, Renardo Green, like those are reasons to be encouraged. And maybe Cowing can actually get a little love in the passing game. So I think the rookies this year is a reason to be optimistic next year.
Definitely. Ricky Pearsall's game this last week makes you feel confident that he could do something next year. I think here's another one. Finally, Ricky Pearsall emerging and giving the 49ers giving them the license and the confidence to finally move on from Deebo Samuel. I think when he went 3 catches on 11 targets in the Super Bowl, that should have been the end. They should have quietly traded him a couple months later. It's over. But they brought him back and they tried to prove to themselves that he was still useful. And I think he did more harm than good to this team on the field, on the sideline, in the locker room, during his podcast. I think he should have been gone, stayed a year too long. And just the fact that he won't be here anymore, complaining after wins, asking for more targets, choking the long snapper, all that stuff, I think it'll really help the Niners for him not to be here anymore.
Okay, so I have a couple questions on this one. Do you think he's not going to be here? Like, do you really think that? Because I'm not sure.
Here's what gives me confidence that he won't be here. This last game, when they finally pretty much buried him in the pecking order, gave him one target. It was a shovel pass. Like, you're not a wide receiver anymore. We'll let you play a little bit of running back, and we'll give you a jet sweep and call it a catch. Although it could have easily been a jet sweep. But no, 10 targets to freaking Jawan Jennings, 10 targets to Ricky Pearsall. That's the future. That's what gives me confidence.
You know what they say about divorce is cheaper to keep her? Like, it might be cheaper to keep him, though, right? Like, here's the thing.
No, because he costs you in the locker room. He costs you with his malcontent. He costs you by the baby punches that he gives out to people. I mean, he'll be 4th on the depth chart next year when Ayuk comes back. I mean, I don't even know how he'll be a running back next year. He'll be a freaking running back, and I don't think they need him to play that position.
I think they should move on him.
He's a good kick returner.
I think they should move on from him for the reasons that you mentioned. I'm just not confident they do. But what I hope happens is that they do. Like, he's just like he's spice, right? Like, when you're cooking, Debo's spice. Like, if you just put a little spice, a little Debo here and there, like short slant passes, end arounds, like 2 or 3 touches a game.
But they're just like ton of Debo.
Yeah, just like Lowry's just pouring it on there. You know, that's what Kyle's doing right now. He needs to chill a little bit, you know, just a little dash of Debo. And I think
I don't know when to put Debo in the recipe now, because like on a jet sweep, I think I'd rather give it to someone faster, like Cowing, who isn't allowed to play offense. I don't know. Okay, look, maybe Debo will be on the team, but I'm trying to feel optimistic. All right, I'm trying to be optimistic right now.
Right.
So I'm gonna live in the world where he's gone, where this is his last game and he gets 1 touch in this game and it's a run.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right. So we need another one. You think Debo's gone? Brandon Ayuk possibly returning. It sounds like Brandon Ayuk from what I heard. I don't know if you saw him, but
I was there.
You were there. How did Brandon Ayuk look?
I wouldn't say jumpers, but like set 3-point shots, because no one really takes a full jump when you're shooting a 3.
Yeah, that was Michael Jordan's era. The Michael Jordan used to really jump when he did jump shots. Like,
yes,
they don't do that anymore. But I'm actually encouraged. But it sounds like he's doing better than I expected at this point. That's encouraging. Hopefully, he can return at some point. Because I looked at the numbers statistically. I think actually the doc sent him. I don't know why his name slips my mind right now. He put up statistics on people that have had Brandon Ayuk's injury and what their timeline looks like. And he said that based on that, we wouldn't even see Brandon Ayuk until December. But it sounds like he's recovering slightly ahead of that schedule. So maybe we'll see a Brandon Ayuk return slightly earlier. Now, will he be the same? Brandon Ayuk, that's a different question, but at least it might happen a little earlier.
Yeah. And they shouldn't be in a position where they're like forcing him. I mean, they never gave him that many targets to begin with anyway, not to be sarcastic, but he was never a huge part of the offense. He was an important part of the offense. And when he comes back, Debo should be gone. Pearsall and Jennings should be entrenched. Kittle should still be here. And he could be like one hell of a 4th option to have at baseline. And maybe he could be the best wide receiver on the team again. So him returning, and then, of course, McCaffrey returning. I don't know if he'll ever be what he used to be, but there should be a full off season of McCaffrey. No holdout, no setbacks, OTAs, mini camp, training camp.
Germany.
Like 2023. That should be good.
I hope so. I'm cautiously optimistic about CMC. Hopefully he gets back to that same CMC we saw in the past. I don't know. Hopefully. One reason I'm optimistic is I think they're going to move on from Jake Brendel. I don't think he's going to be the center next year for the 49ers. I think even the 49ers now have to see that it's time to move on from Jake Brendel. So that's why I'm feeling optimistic. Maybe I'm tripping, but
I love that your side quest is getting Jake Brendel replaced. Yeah, it's fair enough. I mean, it's on the list of things that the Niners need to do. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Jake. There's a lot more reasons too. Like
a ton.
Well, they're gonna get a new special teams coordinator, and he probably couldn't be worse than the current one.
Yes, it can't be. A lot of reasons to be optimistic is that's the reason, right? It can't be worse, right?
I got more. Yeah. Hold on.
The D line can't be worse. The D line can't be worse next year. All those guys that they brought on, Malik Collins, I'm slipping on all the guys that they brought in, the free agents.
Yatir,
Gross Matos, Leonard Floyd. All those guys are coming back.
Yeah.
and I assume they're going to get more guys. So that has to improve, I would imagine.
I got another one. There should be fewer, if not zero, holdouts this year. And I think you could argue that because Lynch said it. They can't just chalk this up to, oh, there were injuries, because the Lions had injuries and they're 14-2. There was something messed up about this season, and you could call it the Super Bowl hangover or whatever, but all those holdouts kind of set the tone that, like, you know, personal needs go before the team. And I think that's not something that they're going to have next year. They're going to set the tone that the team comes first, and it's going to be like that all offseason. Now, it doesn't mean that Brock is going to get his extension right away, but I don't think he's going to hold out. And I don't think there's going to be these like weird standoffs between players, because if there are, the Niners are nuts. That's one lesson they should have learned.
I think that's a good one. I got a great one. No Devondre Campbell.
Whew.
It's either going to, and hopefully it's Greenlaw. If Greenlaw is back, if he has a whole offseason to rest and get healthy and get his legs right, and they can bring him back, that's a huge reason to be optimistic. And even if for some reason it's not Greenlaw, it won't be Devondre Campbell. And I think that's a big reason to be optimistic.
Yeah, there's a world where next year's defense has Greenlaw starting in it and a top 10, 11 pick at D tackle or D end, in addition to Bosa. And all of a sudden you're looking at a front seven that's mediocre to a front seven that's really good again. That could absolutely be the case.
Yeah. I got another one.
And then there's like just the fact that they did like the Super Bowl hangover. I don't know if it's what that is, but it's a short off season for sure with depression. I mean, I don't know, football depression, obviously.
Yeah.
So now you have like an extra month to sort of heal your body, cleanse your palate mentally, and be ready. And not just ready, but like up for the next season. And I think Deebo Samuel mentioned that there was kind of like this depressing malaise hanging over the team. And if Dan Campbell sets the tone with his emotion and his mentality, then I think you could say that Kyle Shanahan does as well. Every head coach does. And maybe he was a little depressed about losing the Super Bowl the way that they did. I mean, how could he not be? And maybe that carried over to his players, and maybe that'll finally be exercised from the organization next season.
I think that is a big one, dude. I think that might be one of the biggest from the health standpoint, mental standpoint. Like, they might actually, when the season comes back, they actually might be excited to play football again instead of on that negative part.
The whole year they're like, that's a big mountain we got to climb. Like, oh my God, you don't hear the freaking Lions talking about what a mountain this is. That's your burden.
Here's one. They'll have a new kicker. They'll have a new kicker.
I'm so glad we didn't forget that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a definite reason to be optimistic. I can't see how I think he's 10 for 18, which is awful.
Do you think that they'll cut Moody early in the process, or do you think they'll keep him and have like a competition?
B. Oh. And he better not win it. What's going to happen, he'll probably win the competition, and then once the other guy's gone, he'll get back to 2024 Jake Moody.
Okay. All right. Are there any other okay, how about Nick Sorensen will still be here.
Here's the thing. I think if Robert Saleh, here's what the 49ers should do. They should go get Robert Saleh, pay him whatever you need to pay him, and say, hey, look, Nick, you did a good job, man, but Robert Saleh, can help you learn as we go, and we want to bring back Robert. He's a part of the family, blah, blah, blah. If they can do that, that would be a huge reason to be optimistic. I don't know if that happens.
Yeah, that would be huge. I wonder if they could pull that off. Jeff Ulbrich wouldn't really do much, but Robert Saleh would be a big addition. Maybe they get Steve Wilkes back.
The vibes in the defensive room for the 49ers would be high if Robert Saleh came back. And I'm not saying they hate Nick Sorensen or anything like that, but they love Robert Saleh. So bringing him back would be fantastic.
And then I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think if the Niners do give Brock Purdy this big extension, that they will make big investments in the offensive line. I don't see how you can make an investment in the quarterback position and not make investments in the offensive line in the same offseason. It seems like it's like buying a house and buying earthquake insurance at the same time. Like it goes hand in hand.
Here's another reason. Aaron Banks will be gone.
Sorry.
And he had a bad year. And I hate to say that. I liked Aaron Banks the first 2 years. This last year was really bad. And I think they can improve over Aaron Banks because he's going to be leaving. If they can replace Banks and Brindle, that could be huge for the 49ers. They can upgrade at those positions. That's a big one. Another one I want to point out too. If Brock Purdy gets paid, maybe he's got a little bit more power. Maybe Brock Purdy is now not such a – it feels like he has to please Kyle and now can actually do it, be a little bit more assertive, be able to take a little bit more control. If he's making more money than Kyle Shanahan, that changes the dynamics a little bit, and that could be a good thing.
Also, I think it's fair to assume that they're going to get a better backup quarterback, unless Dobbs tears it up on Sunday, which he might. This is his audition. But I think Brandon Allen had his audition. It was awful. He can go. Josh Dobbs, maybe, but I think they might go back to what they did a couple years ago when they brought in Sam Darnold, the guy who was the third pick in the draft. Like, why don't you shoot a little higher, try to bring someone in who has some actual talent, some actual potential, who might be able to realize it here the way that Darnold may have been able to if he had gotten a chance.
I think that Dobbs is better than people give him credit for. So I do agree, though. The quarterback room will be better. Getting rid of Allen will be better. Hopefully it's like Tanner Mordecai and somebody else. But I do think Dobbs is not bad, man.
Here's a prediction. Dobbs is not coming back to this team.
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't talked to him, but I have a feeling that he feels.
I don't think he wants to. Why would you want to?
Are you kidding?
Yeah, you sit behind Brandon Allen? Hell no.
Yeah, hell no. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
nothing against Brandon.
Yeah.
Did we miss any reasons to feel optimistic about this team? The Super Bowl will be in Santa Clara next year.
I got one.
I got one. What? Okay.
The 49ers are usually either making the NFC Championship game or having losing seasons.
Okay.
Under Kyle
so they're not going to have another losing season.
Not till the year after next. Not till the year after next. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And you know what? Like, Kyle may have something to prove. Like, he didn't exactly get an extension this year. No one's saying he did a great job. Maybe he comes back with a chip on his shoulder. It's like, I haven't gotten an extension in 6 to 18 months. This is crap.
No.
You get another one.
Yeah.
Possible. I mean,
it's year 9.
Complacent Kyle isn't the best, but a Kyle who hasn't gotten an extension in a year and a half, who knows? Maybe that's the best Kyle.
I mean, we talked about them having more time off. I think the same thing is for Kyle, and I think he's got to be – the urgency's got to be there, right, for Kyle. Like, you're entering year 9. I mean, even Kyle's got to understand that everyone's on a timeline in this league. Even Kyle Shanahan is on a timeline in this league, and if you don't eventually do what you were brought here to do, which is win a Super Bowl after year 9, so maybe the urgency is there for Kyle this coming year.
Maybe the urgency is there for Kyle this year. I think I like that. That's an optimistic take. Okay, now let's do all the reasons to feel pessimistic about the Niners heading into 2025, because there is no guarantee that this team will bounce back. This team is 6-10, and they're on the verge of being 6-11, barring a nice performance from Joshua Dobbs. What do you think? What are the reasons to feel pessimistic about this team?
Well, I'm gonna spin some of the optimistic ones into negatives now. Niners typically suck in the first round, and who knows what they're going to do with that first draft pick. They're only 30%. I think they're batting 30%, 300. I think that's pretty good in baseball, actually. But from NFL draft stands in the first rounds, I don't have a ton of confidence they're going to make a great pick there. I hope they do. They have neglected the trenches for a couple years in a row, and all of us were saying they should focus on that. And so maybe they double down and don't address it. Maybe Brindle is the starting center next year. That's a reason to be negative.
I think the biggest one for me is that this team is, despite how much money they've given out to players, it's very much the Christian McCaffrey team. And when he was at his peak, they were dominant. And without him, they've been in these really close games that they tend to lose. So if he comes back and plays like he did for the first year and a half that he was on the team, then there's every reason in the world to be optimistic about this team. But I just don't see that happening realistically. He'll be 29. He's had Achilles issues. He's has knee issues. Like, we're not talking about broken bones here. We're talking about his body starting to break down as he approaches 30 years old. So will he be better than this year? I would expect so, with a full off season. maybe he'll play 8 games, maybe he'll play 12. But will he be someone that's in the running for Offensive Player of the Year? Probably not. Also, I would expect the Niners to draft a running back. Kyle does it like almost every year. They'll probably be more insulated for when he misses time, or just have more depth at the position in general. But still, without Christian McCaffrey scoring 20 touchdowns, what is this team?
Well, speaking of running back, no Jordan Mason. I don't think they can afford to pay Jordan Mason. I'd be surprised. I mean, I know he's a restricted free agent, so they'll recoup something back from him, a draft pick, but I don't think they keep him. And Jordan Mason is the best running back on this team this year. He was the best running back. So they're going to have to cross their fingers that Garendo can step up and play a big role if Christian goes down, or they're going to have to find somebody in the draft that can help there. So that's another reason to have some hesitancy about them being good.
Unless Christian McCaffrey returns to being that dominant player, I think that the red zone offense could still be an issue, because I think it was so good in 2023 because he scored touchdowns, and Debo, those two. So if Debo's not on the team and Christian isn't, he scores 8 touchdowns instead of 20, then they could still have issues scoring. They could still be in close games. And if they're in close games, their quarterback's still going to be Brock Purdy most likely. And I think we've seen that he's not exactly the greatest clutch, close game quarterback, whether he's winning, whether he's losing. He is much better when he's up big or when he's just in the first half in general. He just doesn't seem like much of a closer.
Yeah, I think, what you brought about Brock Purdy, or excuse me, CMC, that's another reason I think this team was old this year and they struggled. And statistically, like, it's not my opinion, but statistically, younger players on their first contract are more healthy than older players and so this old team that was super unhealthy this year is going to be a year older. Now, they do get that extra month to rest or whatever, but I'm not sure that that's enough to make up for an old team now being a year older. Is Debo going to bounce back after struggling this year? Like, if he's on the team, I don't think so. Is Trent Williams going to be better next year? I doubt it. Is he
going to play 15 games next year, Trent Williams? I don't know.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Is Christian McCaffrey going to play 15, 16 games next year? I don't know.
Yeah, that and Kittle, fantastic this year. Yeah. Maybe he'll be just as good next year, but he's a year older too. He's getting older, and at some time that hits. Fred Warner's a year older. Like a lot of these dudes,
he played through an injury all year too. I mean, so that's another one you have to. Yeah, those are 2 big ones.
Yeah. So getting older in general, I think, is a problem. Another one. You got one? I got another one.
Go ahead.
Kyle doesn't seem to want to change much.
I was going to say
year in, year out, and it feels like teams have kind of figured out him and Brock and how to play against this offense. And if Kyle continues to not want to change up what he does, it's just going to be the same thing that we saw this year as far as how defenses play them and the struggles they have, particularly in the fourth quarter and in the drop back passing game and things of that nature. So that's one reason to feel pessimistic. We've seen this before. Only 2 head coaches in the history of the NFL, I believe it's John Madden and Bill Cowher, or Bill, the guy from Pittsburgh. Bill Cowher. Yeah. Those are the only 2 coaches in the history of the NFL that have won a Super Bowl beyond 8 years with the same team.
Madden did it in year 8.
Yeah, Madden.
Cowher, I think, did it in year 16.
Yeah. So we only got to wait 8 more years if he has a.
Yeah, I'm sure, because he's the next Bill Cowher. They have a lot in common.
Yeah.
Reasons to feel pessimistic. I mean, yeah, Kyle's Kyle. We know who he is. He doubles down. He's more concerned about winning sort of debates or arguments with his critics than doing what's best for himself and his team by proxy. I think he's more concerned about his legacy than what's best for his team. And I think his team knows it. I think doesn't have the same support he had a few years ago. And until he's willing to say that he's a big reason, like Kevin O'Connell had a clip, came out in a press conference today or recently, and he was said that in team meetings, he always makes it a point to point out his mistakes and to give players credit. Like, this was a bad call. I don't know what I was doing here. Well, in this situation, I let you guys down. You guys bailed me out. Thank you. As opposed to him being like, you were good, you were bad, you were good, you were bad. I'm above reproach. So I thought that was really cool. I'm not saying Kevin O'Connell's the greatest coach in the world. He's having a great year. He's actually having a pretty good tenure so far. Played in the league. It seems like he really understands modern Gen Z athletes. And I liked that approach. It seems like it made a lot of sense. And I'm not saying Kyle doesn't do that because I'm not in the meetings, but it would seem slightly out of character for him, and maybe he should give it a shot.
This is the point that I've been making for 2 years now, 3 years now. When it comes to Kyle Shanahan, I love that he came out and said that, because I've been saying this over and over again, and half the fan base thought it was ridiculous when I would say that. But Kevin O'Connell just came out and said what he does by taking accountability in front of the team, and he did it in front of the press, which is also important in my opinion. And then he said why he does it. Right. That is what I've been wanting to see from Kyle Shanahan. And again, he maybe does it behind closed doors, but when you don't take accountability in front of the press, what you're telling is you're not showing your players that you're willing to do that in front of the fan base. And that is important. Like, for Kevin O'Connell to come out and say those things to the press, his players are going to hear that, watch that. Not only does he do it in their meetings, but he's willing to do it in front of everybody. I think that's extremely important. And it's the message I've been preaching for 2-3 years. And I was really glad that he came out and said that.
I think one of the big trends in the NFL this year is a lot of the coaches who are having success aren't just scheme guys. You know, like Mike McDaniel isn't having a ton of success this year. Kyle Shanahan isn't having a ton of success. Like, the coaches that are doing well are guys who are really good at setting a culture. And I think that you could argue that maybe guys who do that really well are harder to find than guys who have good schemes, and that, you know, schemes are like fads. They come and they go. And there are coaches like Cliff Kingsbury and maybe Kyle Shanahan too, who are really good coordinators, but not necessarily true head coaches who can set those kind of cultures. Jim Harbaugh, Dan Campbell, even Nick Sirianni's annoying self seems to work with that team and that particular culture. I mean, he's never had a losing season. Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, on and on and on. There's a lot of these guys out there, and I think we're seeing that's something that Kyle's never been able to do. And early on in his tenure, I think Robert Saleh did a lot of that, like the all gas, no breaks, just the how they play, not just the X's and O's, the stuff beyond that. That was Saleh, it was D'Amico, and I think the last couple of years, it's kind of deteriorated because it's the guys who created it are gone.
Anybody can learn a scheme. Yeah. Anybody, any coach in the NFL can learn a scheme. Like, scheme is probably like, it's what you do with the players. That's what makes a good coach, right? Anybody can learn a scheme. You could study under Kyle Shanahan for 2-3 years. It's not rocket science, it's football. And understand.
Kevin O'Connell did that. He went to the Rams, learned under McVay. Yeah. Got it. There. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let me apply it how I want to apply it. Let me play to my players' strengths. Let me play the right guys at the right time. Let me create competition. Let me build the confidence of the players on my team. Let me take accountability in front of the media and in front of you guys to show you that we're all in this together. Those are what a
good coach does.
Yes.
A bad coach or an overrated coach or a fraudulent coach memorizes someone else's scheme, Xeroxes the playbook, and rides it as long as they can. And maybe has some success because that scheme is in vogue at that time, but eventually gets figured out and can't adjust. Saw it with, I mean, in the 90s, Mike Holmgren in Green Bay was like that dude. And every team wanted coaches off of his staff. And there was John Gruden, there was Steve Mariucci, there was Andy Reid. Turns out there were guys like John Gruden who were kind of just Mike Holmgren wannabes. And then there were Andy Reid, who was a true creative genius and was able to take what he learned from Holmgren and apply it in his own way for the next 30 years. I mean, Steve Mariucci wasn't exactly like that. Gruden wasn't exactly like that. Reid was. And it's hard to know which dude is the creative genius or which dude is just copying the other creative genius.
That's what I'm saying. Like, at this point, right, like, a perfect example, Mike McDaniel knows Kyle's scheme. I'm not saying he's a better coach necessarily. There's probably things he is better at than Kyle. There's probably things he's not, but he understands the scheme. He applied it, and now it's about what kind of coach you are, right? Like, at this point, anybody that's been in Kyle's staff for a long period of time should know his scheme. People throughout the throughout the NFL should know his scheme. They do know his scheme. They run his scheme, their own variants of it. With actually, and I need to clarify, it's Mike Shanahan's scheme. Can we acknowledge that too? It's Mike Shanahan's scheme, and it's been around for a long time, and a lot of people understand it. So at this point, like the scheme is like you can find a million people that understand the scheme. It's about how you coach your players, and how you create the culture that matters more than anything. And I think he's not the best at that. And
he's got to find a way to like reinvigorate this team. And I don't know that he's necessarily the guy to do it because he doesn't have any energy, any enthusiasm. He doesn't have any enthusiasm, and he doesn't like playing young players. So, and he's not going to change. Another reason to be pessimistic, he's not going to change his defensive coordinator. Nick Sorensen is probably coming back. They're probably going to have the same vanilla zone defense rush 4 that they had this year. And they'll try to, improve it by getting some better D linemen and improving the 4-man pass rush so they don't have to blitz as much. But they're not really going to change much about the defense other than adding some players.
They're not going to change much about anything.
No scheme change, no philosophy change.
And that's your scheme is old. You have 8 years of tape on what you like to do defensively and offensively. The longer that continues, unless you're willing to evolve as a coach and with your scheme and what you're doing on the field, it's just another year where everyone's familiar with exactly what you like to do, and it makes it that much harder.
They're going to have another reason to be pessimistic. They're going to have a bunch of dead cap on the books for Eric Armstead, and they could have even more on the books from Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
They'll either have Deebo Samuel on the team or they'll have dead cap from Deebo Samuel. Either one is not good.
I should have thrown in the optimistic. They don't have to pay Trey Lance this year for the first time, which is good.
Who knows? Maybe they re-sign him.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah, man. I think what else? Pessimistic wise, here's the other thing: are they really going to move on from Jake Moody, or are they going to create a competition in camp and that he's going to win, and they're going to say he's going to win, he's fine, and then when it matters most, he's going.
He did really well in practice when it didn't matter and there was no pressure. Yeah. Oh my God, he missed a kick in a game. Yeah, but he was good in practice.
Here's another one: the history of 49er players being good after they get paid. Is Brock Purdy going to be good after he gets paid? Because I think it's about 80% are not.
How many were? Kittle, Warner, Bosa.
Kittle, Warner, Bosa. Bosa.
And Bosa isn't exactly $34 million a year good, but he's good.
Bosa's not good at it. But he declined, though, after his contract.
Yeah.
He did.
How many guys didn't decline after their contract? So those two, 85 and 54.
That's it.
Yeah.
Trent, because
Jennings, but he only got a 2-year extension. It wasn't like a 4-year mega extension.
Trent is the only one because he's just good. Like, if he deteriorates, it's because of age, not because he doesn't play good anymore. But like, that's it. So that's a concern. Like, I do think Brock Purdy's character, he has a good character, and I still think Brock's going to try to play he's going to try as hard as he has previously. But you never know, man. If you're set for life, it kind of changes who you are as a person.
You mentioned that this team either makes the NFC Championship game or misses the playoffs. I don't see this team making the NFC Championship game next year. So ipso facto, what does that mean?
They miss the playoffs based on history. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Rams look decidedly better than them.
But their schedule is so. Here's another reason to be pessimistic. I said this as the reason to be optimistic too. But there's the fact that their schedule is so soft, they're not going to be tested much until they get into the playoffs.
They lost to the freaking Dolphins. Another reason to be pessimistic.
Yeah.
Like this team has lost to teams that won't make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
So you could give them the worst teams in the league. They'll find ways to lose some of those games.
Brock Purdy has declined. Here's another thing pessimistic. Brock Purdy's arm is a concern for me. He's had 3 injuries to his arm, and this year his arm looked weaker than last year. And nobody knows why. Nobody, at least we don't know why. They're not telling us why. I don't know if that's just how he is now or if there's an injury he's dealing with outside of the elbow injury he just got. That's a reason to be worried.
All right. Well, I think those are all the reasons.
Yeah. I don't think so, but we can stop.
So I think they're going to go 15-2 next year. That's my preliminary projection.
They got I think they're going to go 12-5. I honestly do, looking at that schedule. But I think when they get to the playoffs, they're not going to be ready because that schedule has been a cakewalk.
All right. Well, the Niners have practice in 3 minutes. I'm going to run out and see if I can catch it. Ryan, thank you very much. Everyone, well, hold on. We got to hold on. Would Trey Lance be a first-round pick this year? We got you. If Sorensen got a fade, Joseph Friel says, can Kyle go for it on fourth down sometimes rather than all the time, has been seen as anxious? Is it too drastic of him to take Dan Campbell's approach by showing out his side of the ball? Special teams does nothing. Yeah, why not? Why not? He's so conservative with that stuff. Shady Zay says, hopefully Cowan gets more PT. He's explosive and shown a little what he can do. Yeah, everyone gets to play except for Cowing, apparently. I don't understand that one.
Yeah.
Sir Cash Money says, already screwed up 2025. 2026 is my year to lock in. That's when he's going to lock in. I appreciate that, Sir Cash Money.
2026?
What's that?
At Santa Clara? Where's the Super Bowl at?
Oh, yeah, next year. That'll be fun. All right, I'm going to go try to catch practice. Thanks for watching, everyone. Ryan, take care.
I will.
Me too.